Some European countries begin to ease lockdown restrictions. Parks in Italy are to reopen tomorrow. Playgrounds, museums and zoos are now open in Germany too. But what are the chances of any of us managing to get to Spain or Italy or anywhere for that matter this summer? It seems foreign holidays are very unlikely, according to the Health Minister. He was asked about this yesterday. So for more, I'm joined on the line by travel journalist Eoghan Corry. Eoghan, good morning to you.
Good morning, Susan.
Eoghan, the Health Minister, he said yesterday it's not looking good for foreign travel this year. He's saying the advice is at the minute not to leave the island of Ireland, and it looks unlikely that people will be going abroad later this year. This will certainly be disappointing news for some people, and also worrying news, I guess, for people who were organised and already had their holidays booked for this year. Are people panicking?
There's a lot of panic out there. It's been 8 weeks, Susan, trying to cool down or calm down the panic. People have been besieging their travel agents, their tour operators and the airlines. Ryanair facing a queue of 10 million people looking for refunds. That's one, that'll go up to 25 if the lockdown continues a little bit longer. 25 million people. That's okay if the computer can handle them, which it can't. The audit people have to come in and make a decision about refunding money to people. But what really causes the likes of Simon Harris's comment yesterday is it reignites the fear. People need to get on the phone lines, they get on the chat lines, they go hunting. What happened that booking I have for July? What happened that booking I have for August? And a lot of the calming down that was done, particularly by the travel trade. Travel agents are getting no money in, but they have to facilitate their existing customers and do all their rebookings for them. And they're obviously all their jobs, all their businesses are at risk. The likes of yesterday's comment just reignites that and the fear in people. In
your view, Eoghan, is there an easier way to manage that? So, I mean, could it be as simple as, once flights are cancelled, or once there's lockdown measures in a certain place, that it's much more simple, and that if your holiday is cancelled, you're just refunded automatically?
You can't be refunded automatically. Somebody has to make the decision under money laundering laws. That's where the real crush point is. If you go for the voucher, the famous vouchers, there's been a lot of debate about them. Aer Lingus offer a 5-year voucher, 110% of the fare. Ryanair, so far it's 1 year. I think they'll be under pressure to increase that. It means that the computer just reallocates you to a voucher number or another flight. Once you have human intervention, when the airline staff, both Ryanair and Aer Lingus and all the other airlines, are operating at 25% of capacity because of social distancing, that puts an enormous backlog kicks it into place. What the medical experts and politicians have been saying is that we didn't have a coordinated response to the travel lockdown at the start, the ending of travel. We need a coordinated response to its recovery. That was a clear message from the transport ministers meeting on Wednesday. What we need to happen for people to travel, the first question is us to unlock, and somewhere else that we like to go to unlock as well.
Yeah, because it's important for people to remember they could land somewhere for a 2-week holiday, and they could be told that they would have to self-isolate for 2 weeks. So that's not much of a holiday. So you need to take into consideration the restrictions in place in other countries as well.
And Susan, that the most likely scenario for that would be the Canary Islands, the Balearics. So really oddly, the places that people most travel to have had the lowest infection rates in this. And let's come to Spain, because nearly all our holidays are to Spain, the Balearics and the Canaries. So the Canaries are already in a good state. Their infection rate is very low. And two of the islands, Fuerteventura and Lanzarote, would be under a position, the Spanish program for recovery, a program for opening up, that was announced on Tuesday. Two of the islands would be in a position to open probably end of July, which means around September, October. The airlines have plans to get about 50%, 60% of their aircraft back in the sky by then. All of that could start unlocking. What Simon Harris said yesterday is that he's not trying to stop the airlines from flying. He said that 2 weeks quarantine on your return turns a 2-week holiday into a 4-week holiday. And it seemed to be almost a random remark. Where are we going to be in 2 or 3 months' time? Are we still going to be in 2-week quarantine? But what what an ill thought out remark like that, or an ill prepared remark would be probably more accurate, is that it does create a huge sense of panic. And the travel trade are huge difficulty keeping the lid on their own.
Absolutely under pressure. Let me ask you, we're in a bank holiday weekend, and there'll be another bank holiday weekend which will happen before the second phase of easing of restrictions. So we will have some domestic tourism returning later in the summer. Some hotels will open caravan parks and hostels in late July. They will have a limited occupancy. But if that goes to plan, there's obviously going to be a rush on places like that. Would you advise people to be booking a holiday late in summer in Ireland now, or holding off to see how we manage to make our way through the different phases?
Nothing can be done until we know we've a clear date, that there isn't a second wave, all these these terrifying things that the health professionals are talking about. So what will happen, and I'm pretty sure about this, is we'll have the mother and father of all sales. Once we have a clear run, hotels are going to be scrambling for whatever cash they had. I was talking to an Irish hotelier yesterday who had drawn up a spreadsheet on zero income until March 2021, worst case scenario. So what will happen is, once we get a clear idea that we can travel and we can holiday, that we'll see a mother-in-law, father-in-law seat sales. We'll say €1 sales from Ryanair, for instance, and also the Irish hotels will be trying to get, a lot of people won't get on an aircraft, will be trying to get what business they can. It'll be a great year for bargains if household finances, which are also under siege, can sustain them.
Could it go the other way though? If there's if we all want to go to a hotel in Ireland and there's a shortage of accommodation, will we not all end up paying through the nose for it?
I don't think we'd be looking at a shortage of accommodation, although you do have a point. If all the Irish holidaymakers who go abroad wanted to stay in the country, there wouldn't be enough room for them. Where we do have a longer term problem is the hotels that will not reopen. We could have a situation where we move from having hoteliers complaining that there are too many hotel beds back to a situation where we've too few. And also that applies in outbound as well. If the number of routes out of Dublin and the number of frequencies, let's say the Malagas go down to 2 flights a day from 14 a day, we're back to the 1980s. We're back to paying huge amounts of money for flights because there's so few options.
Okay, Eoghan Corry, travel journalist, thank you for being with us on Newstalk Breakfast this morning. I guess we just have to pray that the sun keeps shining. There's nowhere better to be than Ireland if that's the case.